Hello everyone, welcome to Lush and Salty Aquariums. I went to a swap the other day and as I am wont to do when I go to those things, I bought maybe more, bit off more than I can chew, bought more fish than I really was planning on buying. I'm sure that has happened to the best of us. It happened to me. So I made a significant change into this 30 centimeter cube, 8 gallons, give or take a few ounces. Before it held a group of male black fire endlers, which was awesome. They were great, and they were in here for a few months, living their best life. But when I was at the swap, I saw a couple bags of these Vietnamese White Cloud mountains. I'm not sure if the Vietnamese strain, it is a different fish, so maybe they don't refer to them as White Cloud mountain minnows, but it's the Vietnamese White Cloud is the common name. And some of these have a bit of a longer finnage than you might typically see. Occupying right there under the Ceres stone, you see an aggressive, maybe a dominant male. I wasn't aware that this particular species had a hierarchy in terms of their social network, but that guy seems to be large and in charge. And there's another one. Very beautiful fish. They are typically a bit smaller than your standard White Cloud mountain minnow, which was the very first fish I had in this fish room, not in this aquarium, but I had a group of White Clouds that I got from White Cloud Dynasty, kind of a well-known entity on YouTube for breeding super rainbow shiners and white clouds. He only posts periodically, but it's well worth your visit, White Cloud Dynasty. That's not where these came from. These were from the Wet Sleeves, a guy up in Wisconsin near Milwaukee. Really fun dude. Had great prices. I forget what I paid exactly, but he gave me a deal on these as well as on some pencil fish, which I'll talk about in another video. But I bought 2 bags, I think 12 or 10, maybe just 10. And I think they were about $15 for 5, something like that. So like $3 a fish, very good. And some of them look a little bit haggard, maybe from sitting in bags at a swap and being driven up from Milwaukee, or maybe just from some aggression in this aquarium. You know, you never know. Sometimes things don't go exactly as planned. This tank should be sufficient. It's certainly not too big. It might be arguably a bit small, which is why the Vietnamese strain I thought would be all right. I always imagined them to be a bit more gentle than the typical White Cloud mountain minnow, but these guys are definitely flashing, right? They look like a pod of excited fish. And, you know, if there's no problems that come from that, I'm really happy. Now, last night, they all were grouped in the very center of the tank in a real tight pod. And I thought that was so beautiful, and that's what I wanted. The Blackfire Endlers were just all over the aquarium, and that was wonderful, but it was hard to ever really focus on any one fish or pair of fish. They just were everywhere all at once. Wasn't that the title of an Oscar-winning movie a couple years ago, Everything All at Once? Well, the Blackfire Endlers, that's what they were all about. And it made it a little hard to appreciate them, which is ironic because, you know, everybody wants a fish that goes all over the tank. Now, these guys are preferring the front and the bottom, and that's fine because that's where my eye is easiest to spot them. I imagine if there's any spawning, they'll want to go back into that pearl weed there, which I need to trim again to keep it in the line of the Ceres stone. And I'm also getting an intense amount of growth from the Anubias petite. You see some cherry shrimp as well as a bunch of neorites doing all they can to keep the algae to a minimum. I didn't wipe the glass because I didn't want to spook these new fish, and then the video would have been worse for that. So when it comes to sexing these fish, it's more or less like the white cloud mountain minnow. The males are going to have more color, and that color will be represented in their fins. So you sort of make an educated guess, especially when they're new like this. And but I'm guessing the female is. Look at the beautiful long fin there. Honestly, I don't know what's the male and the female, but typically you can tell by the color in their fins. And I imagine as these creatures settle down over time in this new aquarium, that will become more apparent to me. And I'll do a little bit more research on this particular species and learn more about them, and I will impart that onto you. I am hoping, since this is a species only tank, that they do start dropping eggs. They are an egg scatterer, and they tend to like to go into any and all of this cover is a potential spawning ground. If breeders are trying to spawn white clouds, they often put some Java moss in a they hold it down with a rock in a dish or something, or they put marbles at the bottom to trap the eggs so that the fish don't eat them, which apparently they can do with some gusto. But I'm hoping, because of the awesome, look at that carpet of Helanthrium tellum microsword. It is so perfect and true. It's like the second or third cut on a golf course, not quite as fine as the green, but right off to the side there, which I would be thrilled to be able to hit my golf ball even to that, let alone the green. I'm so bad at that sport. But I'm guessing when they first spawn, even though they're all playing around down here, that it's actually going to be right up and in that pearl weed. I put in a whole bunch of snails and shrimp to help mitigate algae, because in an Iwagumi without stem plants, you are pushing your luck, especially with a good light, just beating right down on it. Now I am running CO2. This is a micro CO2 kit that I got off of Aqua Forest's website. They're the sole distributor in the United States of ADA products. I am not going to recommend this. It's been a pain in the butt. It does work. I'm getting CO2 out of the diffuser. Let's see if we can pick that up. Right there, you can see the bubbles. But you have to tune it more than I like, and it doesn't last as long as I'd like. But that being said, and plus it's expensive, right? The Fluval mini kits are what, 50, 60 bucks, if that. This was a couple hundred, and maybe more than that. Certainly more than that with the accessories, the cylinders and so forth, and I don't think it's worth it. I just don't. I added a moss tray there. I just put that in. Next time I film this video, it's going to be a lush plush golf ball of willow or Xmas moss. I virtually guarantee that. And I was thinking that would also be a potential spawning site. All of the eggs would fall right through and look like pellets and be gobbled up. But anyway, I put that in there also to provide some potential shade or cover, and that's why I also put in this strand of Brazilian pennywort, which the snails, as soon as you put in a new plant, your invertebrates, your shrimp and your snails are going to go right to it and clean all that they can, because they're familiar with the territory that's in their ecosystem. And so when you add something new that's a potential food source, they're going to find it, and they're going to find it real quickly. And that's what they did here. You see a mystery snail, whoop, You gonna be able to stay up there, buddy? I've got 4 of these ivories. They've doubled in size, but they're still not terribly big, which is good because that could violate the scale. And I have a bunch of different sorts of neorites. But the main point of this video is to talk about these Vietnamese white cloud mountain minnows. If any of you have experience with this fish in terms of their behavior and their spawning, anything, share it with me, because I don't want to say ignorant, but my knowledge about these creatures is less than a lot of other fish, and I've never kept them before. All right, everybody, I hope you appreciate this. And as always, keep your hands in the tank, albeit carefully, and ciao for now.